Hello, Libra, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of April 26th through May 2nd. And during that time, we mostly have a waxing gibbous moon. And of course, that is a time, the moon is starting to gain that light as we go through. And as we're working on those things that we started on the new moon, on the first of the cycle, we are making sure that we have time to be flexible right now. So working really hard, but making those adjustments, where we see something's not working, just make that adjustment and keep continuing on. We then have the full moon energy. The full moon comes in on May 2nd, but of course you might feel that energy the day before, during, and possibly after as well. For some, it's a time of heightened emotions and you might feel a little snappy and irritable. For others, you might just have really good high energy. That's what I tend to do during a full moon. But what you want to do is, if you have the first part of that, the anxiety part, make sure you're releasing any resentment and fear and try to practice patience and calm. That is just a gift every cycle that you get to do those things. And if you have the other, which is just high energy, just get some things done. Do what you need to do. So those are the moon energies for the week. So please keep those in mind. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter. So, as always, Libra, take what resonates today and leave what doesn't here on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading is that confidence is your key to success. Okay, let's see what the Libra Collective has going on for the week. As I'm shuffling the tarot, my fun weekly reminder for you this week is that you try to learn something new. So oftentimes, and I mean like a deep dive on something. I feel like I'm learning something new every day, but to really do a deep dive, I have to focus and say, hey, I want to learn this thing. And it could be, it could be something that's going on in the world today that you don't know anything about. It could be some historical fact. It could be how to do something somehow too. Just anything under the sun, really. But take, a couple of hours and set that time aside and either read a book, watch a lecture, just do what you can, some kind of research to learn something new. So that is my fun weekly reminder for you this week. All right, let's get into this reading. Libra, April 26th through May 2nd. Confidence is your key to success. And your present energy right now is the Five of Swords. So you might need some confidence in some sort of maybe exchange here, some sort of, perhaps disagreement or something that's going on where some words are exchanged with people. It's not the happiest of times, but sometimes things need to be said. Just try to, do it in as calm and be as nice as you can. If you're the sayer of these swords, that seem to be hurting feelings and have people walking away from you, that sort of thing. But just be confident. If it is something that needs to be said, go ahead and say it, and just be confident that you had to put it out there, and then you get to deal with the repercussions sometimes, right? Your current situation is the Hermit card. So this is involving some inner searching. And is it before or after these words are said? Maybe this situation causes you to kind of go in and say, did I say the right thing? And kind of seek that wisdom. So this might just be a little heads up for you to make sure you're seeking that wisdom before that, and I know sometimes things just happen, things get blurted, and then it does cause us to go back and think about it, and think, oh, was that the smartest thing I did? So that could happen this week. Maybe try to avoid that by just knowing that information beforehand. When you might want to fly off the handle and maybe think a little, maybe that Hermit energy comes in early and you think a little better of it and try to use as much wisdom as you can, right? Try to get a handle on it before you literally fly off the handle. So at the root of your situation is the Six of Pentacles. So it could be about some sort of giving or receiving, some exchange of either monetary or material things, or this could even be an exchange of energy. So it could be that that you're just having some feelings about that you feel like you're on the one end or the other, where you feel like you're giving too much or receiving too much, so and maybe trying to balance that out. If you're in this energy, whichever one this is for you, of course, give graciously and receive, with just as much grace. So keep that in mind. What is in your recent past here is the Knight of Wands. So this might have been all brought on by some sort of passionate action by you. Something, like I said, where, the heat of the moment really comes to mind with both of these kind of cards, that these are things that, we're not really thinking, emotions take over, feelings take over, and we say the thing or we do the thing just out of passion, out of It just happens, right? We all do this. Don't feel bad that you're doing it, because we've all been there. But just what you want to do is make sure that if it is something that was negative, or that amends need to be made, make sure you're making those amends, or make sure you're at least opening up the lines of communication with whoever it is, that this passionate action or this argument, this words exchange, make sure there's at least an open line of communication to go back later and discuss and maybe rectify things. So that's what you can do there. What's on your mind this week is the Two of Pentacles. So you might feel as if you are kind of juggling things in the world right now, and you might be under a little bit of stress and pressure, and that's maybe why you would fly off the handle a little bit. Just, examine why you're feeling that much stress and pressure. Like I said, we're at the waxing gibbous part of the cycle right now. And if what you need to be doing is making notes on why you're feeling this imbalance, or this need that you can't, like, it's almost like there's so much going on, you just can't keep it all going. What you need to do with that information is at least take a note of it right now that you're feeling that way, and start to make a plan for the next cycle on how can I make the next cycle not feel this way. Are there things in my life that I can maybe make adjustments on, or do a little bit differently to make sure that I'm not feeling that. So, if we get overwhelmed, sometimes you get bogged down in a feeling like that, and it just goes on and on and on, because you don't turn around and look at it and take the time to examine it, see exactly what it is, and then change it so that you can do it. We get kind of stuck in those patterns. And again, this is something we all do. It's like, you just keep doing it because you don't you don't really realize, and then you're like, why do I continue to do this thing that's not really working for me? So just remember, again, to make a note if you're having that feeling of feeling like you're juggling things. Make a note of it so that you can start to maybe make some changes when the next cycle rolls around. All right, what is just ahead of you this week is, yeah, there might be something that you're just done here with the 10 of swords. So, maybe when these words get exchanged, this passion thing has led to some sort of exchange of words, and maybe you're just going to be done dealing with it, and whatever that means for you. It could be that you're done with those feelings, done saying the thing, done communicating the thing. You feel like you finished, or you wrapped up a communication with someone, and it is what it is. Again, if you left that space so that you could go talk it out, it might be that that shouldn't come up again, because everybody's had a chance to explain themselves, right? In your advice position is the Three of Swords. So, the advice is, I guess, say the thing. Again, if sometimes it's just things that need to be said, and this could be, in just a relationship, it could be in a friendship, personal relationship, family relationship, and sometimes you're just going to have to go ahead and do it and say the thing, and at least get it out there. Again, try to leave lines of communication open, but the advice is to maybe just go ahead and say the thing, and it might be a little heartbreaking for you. But it also might be if you don't. Sometimes things just need to get out in the open so that you can communicate them and discuss them. And because that's in your advice position, it's like, go ahead and feel those feelings of at least getting it out there. And your feelings might get hurt. Someone might snap back at you and make another statement back that does kind of hurt your feelings. It's kind of a heartbreak. So the advice is accept what that is and feel those feelings for whatever reason that they're coming up. It seems that you do need to feel those at this time, and go ahead and feel them, and then decide what you're going to do with them. Decide how you want to move on. What is beyond your control this week is the Devil card. So, the devil might come in. This might be some false truth or some sort of insecurity that's coming into play, kind of brought on by the devil. So, in this card, it's saying you do have to feel these things, but it might be not true, right? And if they're, I'm trying to think of an example to use, almost like you get a mindset stuck in your head over something that's being said here, and you have to just kind of go ahead and feel it. And maybe it's not correct. Maybe you'll take some time to examine that at some later point and find that, oh, that wasn't even a correct feeling. And that's where this devil card does come in. And the devil card, hang on just a second. Let me shut this door. Anyway, my phone was ringing out there, and I'm really not going to stop this reading for it. So, oh yeah, back to, so the devil card, it could be that this is kind of a false thing, and this is an insecurity that's coming up for you, that's been brought on by this entire situation. Again, this could template over so many different situations. That's just how tarot goes. but I'm sure some of you are going to feel a situation that's going on in your life and think, oh, yeah, that's exactly the energy of it. So, make sure that you, even though you're examining these feelings and allowing yourself to feel that, just remember that it could be a false, like a self doubt thing. It could just be something, some negative thought, or it's even like some kind of little self pity thing, or a thing that's an excuse that you're making. Um, that's not real. So make sure we're always trying to peel back the layers to get to really the real feeling that's in there. I hope that makes sense. Okay. What is your secret desire, or what are you trying to avoid, is the moon card. So, the moon is about things that come to us in the night. And this could be about having a dream or some sort of intuition or something that's kind of leading you towards a conclusion on something. And is it your secret desire to allow that to happen, to let, your intuition take control and really understand the situation? Or are you working against your intuition right now? Are you saying, nope, I don't want to, that's not, like, you're kind of denying your intuition. So ask yourself that question, and know, think to yourself, is there an intuitive way that I feel like this needs to go? And is that okay with me, or am I fighting that? And then you're going to have to ask yourself why, and just kind of examine, are you going against the grain when it comes to your intuition, and you're acting in another way? And if you are, examine why. It's just, this is all just about self-examination at this point. In your outcome position, here is the Page of Cups. So here you are, kind of at the end of the week, laughing the whole thing off, almost like it's a big, huge, dramatic deal during, like, the whole part of your week. And you get to the end, and it's Page of Cups, where you've got an open cup. You are, that's kind of that's kind of the Joker of the deck, right? And it's someone who, um, is open to laughter and to kind of seeing the humor behind things, right? So hopefully you end your week in that area. I mean, and you kind of can look back and laugh at yourself. That may have a lot to do with this intuitive thing here, and maybe it could be indicative of a complete misunderstanding. And you and whoever is involved, you do laugh it off, because you are going in and you're thinking all these, have you ever had something like that, where you're thinking all these thoughts, and someone said a thing and it kind of set your mind off, and did they mean this, and then they mean that, and whatever. And you finally get together and talk with them and find out that they didn't mean anything at all. And like I said, it was all kind of a false illusion, that you were having these feelings and whatever. And that's not what they meant at all. They meant something completely different, and you've totally misread the whole situation, and you do kind of laugh it off in the end. So that's kind of what I feel like may happen to you this week. And again, confidence is your key to success. So be confident through this whole entire thing, um, that it's going to end up in some way, at the end of the week, you're going to be at least laughing about it. What is hidden from you this week? At the bottom of the deck is, yeah, your stability here with the Four of Pentacles. So this is definitely, this is a much nicer place to be than this two. The two is like, oh, I just trying to balance work and life and this and that and the home and the kids, and I got to do, the car needs to go to the shop, and I got to, I need to run to the grocery store, and I need to do this thing and cook this thing for a party, that, all those things where life just gets like, I can't do it all. This feels like, okay, now, and this, even though this is more stability with the four, sometimes are you holding on too tightly? So that's kind of hidden from you this week, is that kind of, that feeling stable. But again, you need to examine that, and maybe on the next news cycle, you just make a list. Like, here are the things this week that were stressing me out. I didn't, it was these three things, and maybe if I could change how those things happen in my life, maybe in weeks ahead they won't be as stressful. All right, that's a lot of things to say about that. So let's get a final message here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final message for Libra for this reading: take a step back. Take a step back here before these words are exchanged. Again, if this Hermit can come in, if you could have that wisdom before the things get said, which, rarely do any of us do that, especially in the heat of the moment when things are firing off and things are happening. Of course, we're all just going to say the thing that we're going to say. It's just going to come out, for most of us anyway. And then we think about it later and think, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So try to let that Hermit, try to let that inner wisdom come out, before those words get exchanged, if you can. And that does involve taking a step back, taking a breath before you say a thing. Just kind of think it through first. That's good advice for any of us all the time. All right, let's see what you need to do in the way of self-care, Libra, and the card for you is the card called Patience. It is safe to wait. So, and then maybe it is safe to wait to, again, to say those words. It is safe to wait. It's okay. Does this whole situation get misconstrued into something over just the wrong words? That could just be it. So, Libra, I wish you all the luck with this. If you have any questions or comments about it, or if you want to share, drop me a comment down below. You know, if anything resonated or if you have questions about anything, I'd be happy to answer those for you. Also, if you like my reading style, hitting like and subscribe, I appreciate that so much. So thank you for doing it. Secondly, it'll help you find me next week. So come on back and we'll see where your story goes. So thanks so much, Libra. Good luck with this. See you next time. Bye-bye.